This is the review for Assassin's Creed Shadows. You guys ready? I'm definitely ready for this one. Actually, I'm so ready. I'm gonna eat a piece of beef jerky before I even start. Check the like and dislike ratio. Oh my god!
It's wild that it took almost 20 years and dozens of games for the biggest stealth action series around to finally bend towards feudal Japan. Assassin's Creed Shadows makes the most of that theme, with a great pair of shinobi and samurai heroes sharing center stage that are fun to skulk through giant castles or wade into vicious battles with. Besides the setting, the bulk of the changes this time around focus on making smaller tweaks to well-established systems, such as less cluttered maps and skill trees, while also doubling down on things that really worked in 2023's Assassin's Creed Mirage. Like the more focused combat that accompanies its better-paced main quests. It's not a perfect reset, as in...
That is a cool execution kill, by the way. Like, I think that's cool.
Balances and missed opportunities abound, but I feel more confident than ever that Assassin's Creed could be back and here to stay.
Wow!
And once this is done, I will never take up the sword again. Let us get this over with.
Like a river in the rainy season, Shadow's story overflows with cliches and tropes. But morally complex intersecting plots still keep the intrigue high, which is the same trick that made Assassin's Creed Valhalla's stories work when they did. I don't think I was particularly wowed by any of the writing on a regular basis, but there are some standout moments of tense reflection and curious happenings sprinkled throughout.
I just can't see how, like... I can't see how this came out a week ago. I could see how this came out 10 years ago. But this is really not very good. Like, Yasuke, unironically, is the only character in the game that I think looks visually good and visually well-designed. Like, a lot of the other characters don't really look that good. And, yeah, thanks, Obama. I guess so, right? At the Obama... Wait, it is Obama. Wait, what? What the fuck? We just saw Death Stranding trailer? Yeah, exactly. It's not even remotely close.
Who is behind these murders?
I don't know.
The typical Assassin's Creed conspiracy woven into it fits perfectly within the war-torn Sengoku period of Japan too, like a hidden blade snugly in its wrist sheath. It's still a bit too full of go here, do that quests as bridges between major moments, but Shadows is organized in a way that can be enjoyed in pieces and at your leisure without getting too lost between plot points. Almost
yeah,
like
a little bit.
how one might enjoy a good book. The leads themselves are wonderful. You spend a lot of the early game with the sharp-witted and
You know what
brooding
one of my
Malware.
favorite things to see is looking at the higher level monsters and the like guys that you're gonna have to fight, and they're just the same guys that you're fighting now, but instead of saying 11 next to their name, it says 30. That always really fills me with a tremendous amount of excitement to continue playing the game.
Who is among the last shinobi warriors of the Iga clan, a role thrust upon her by tragedy. That tragedy befell her in part by the hands of the charismatic Hulk Yasuke, who is a tireless warrior for justice and peace. When they begin working together, they are frequently each other's most reliable counsel, with different perspectives on the events going on around them.
Perhaps in that chance lies the seed of redemption for each of us.
Oh.
In other words, they truly do balance one another. And while I don't think either one would win popularity contests against some of the other series stars like Ezio or Edward, together they serve as a bright light in the center of a largely dark tale of revenge.
Yeah, I don't know why they went with characters like that like people wouldn't really think are cool. Like I think Yasuke is kind of okay. Like Naoe, like, I really couldn't give less of a fuck, man. Yeah.
Most of the missions in Shadows starts on the refreshingly intuitive objective board. Thematically, this approach matches the tone of using all of the information you gather to identify hidden members of a secret society trying to plunge Japan into chaos. Functionally, the way it organizes outstanding tasks and the people involved is far more useful than the old bulleted quest lists. Selecting a quest gave me a short list of clues to help discern where the objective was. Past Assassin's Creed games have tried versions of this before, but this one is the first one that I felt consistently made me look at my map and actually deduce where the spot in question might be. Rather than
I tried to do this like 2 times and it was just annoying and I quit doing it and I just turned on the guided quest system. It's just an annoying system. Like, I didn't like it. Lazy ass? Yeah, it's late. I'm just lazy. I don't want to do it.
lighting up your map with a galaxy of tooltips.
Is it bad? It's not even that bad. I mean, like, it's a waste of it's basically like, why is there this extra, is this extra step adding gameplay? To me, it's not. It's just annoying. I get that some people might like it for whatever reason, but to me, it's just like an unnecessary complexity that just makes the game tedious. That's how I feel.
Shadows mostly relies on sparse points of interest icons to push you towards the areas you'll need to see in person. Even when you climb up to the signature high points to take a good long look at your surroundings, you'll see a bunch of these things that tell you that there's something out there, but you're gonna have to go check them out for yourself to know what. I love this. I could feel my brain starting to detangle the checklist conditioning that years of these games have instilled in me. Most of these undiscovered locations fall into a number of reliable categories, like castles you can infiltrate and attempt to steal special gear from, or any of the many villages.
But there's not a difference. Every castle, as far as I know, is the same. You kill the elites and then you loot the chest. I mean, fuck, New World had more variation than that. I feel like it's the same thing.
Scattered across Japan. But you can't be sure unless you take them in for yourself.
I hate this too, by the way. Like, I'm sorry, but like a lot of these mini games are just like, in my opinion, they're like stupid and annoying and a waste of time. I don't want to do this. Just annoying.
Common thing I would always stop to handle whenever I came across them were world activities. These are smaller locations and events that, when completed, add knowledge points to your characters, adding new options to their skill trees. Not all these events are exciting.
The best way that I can explain my frustration with stuff like this is that it feels a lot to me like it's kind of turning a game into co-op, where like individual things that you have to do become problematic, but the introduction of these problematic elements that make them more complex doesn't actually add any gameplay. It just makes things more tedious and it makes them take longer and it makes you have to keep track of more things. It's like slop. Yeah, it's like slop, just like extra padding. And I just caveman brain. Well, the thing is that I really don't like that mindset, because that mindset is implying that it's somehow like you don't have to be a wizard to figure out where a quest objective is, right? I mean, you don't have to do that, but like, has it ever occurred to you that maybe it's caveman design? That like maybe having all of these extra steps and extra, you know, like basically, this is a good way to say it. It's kind of like how WoW did this a lot, where they would add friction into a system at the beginning and then take it out later on. Like they would add in legendary gear in Legion and then they wouldn't let you buy it until the very end of the expansion. It's like, why are you doing this? They would add in like, you know, corruption vendors, but they were on a rotation. Why are they on a rotation? Who asked for this? And so there's always these problems, like conduit energy. Exactly. It's basically you're co-oping your game. You're adding in tedium and you're adding in complexity and difficulty that doesn't actually improve the gameplay or make it any more interesting. It just creates a tedious subsystem that you have to use to interact with playing the game.
But they often don't take too long, and the points are worth it in the end. And some can add an interesting distraction from the action for a short spell.
Sure.
Between outings, I spent some time at the hideout. After collecting minerals, crops, and wood out in the world, you can use those resources to build and upgrade important buildings here that give you access to new assets. I spent the majority of my time at the forge managing my equipment, while other important buildings provide features that can be managed in places outside of the hideout, like the new summoning ability from the dojo, which let me call in help from certain allies I met during my adventure.
Damn, she really beating the fuck out of him.
I'm glad I didn't have to dote on this place very much, as I personally can't be bothered to decorate a homestead.
Yeah, it's
But
silly.
those who can won't be disappointed by the amount of cosmetics available to find and buy.
This is just like, I said this before, like, this is just not, like, why you even put this in the game. Like, I feel like this is the reason why video games and AAA studios are unsustainable. Is that, like, you're animating and designing all of this content, and it's like, are people really buying the game for this content? Like, probably not, right? And I think if you compare this to something like Black Myth Wukong, where, like, everything in the game was, like, very much based off of, like, gameplay and the intent of design, it's cool. No, it's cool. I get that it's cool and it's nice, but nobody buys a game for this, and people aren't playing Assassin's Creed for this. And these video games have this scope creep where they just add in more and more systems, more and more little functionalities, and these things don't actually improve the gameplay. They don't actually make the game better. They're just little bullshit, like ADHD mechanisms in the video game. It's just bloat. And all of this costs money. This is the reason why they need to have a store in the game, is that they're adding in these weird functions. To speak for yourself? I am. Of course, I'm obviously speaking for myself. But, like, yeah, that's what I think is happening. Compare it to Yakuza. Yakuza is a different game.
This version of 1500s Japan is a beautiful place. There's such a symphony of color over every hill and across every lake. Each season brings with it incredible landscapes, sometimes covered in the copper brown of autumn or entombed in deep white snow.
The season system in the game is good.
I found the weather to be some of the best I'd ever experienced in an open world.
Yeah.
It was hard not to be moved watching powerful winds pick up and bring in rolling thunderstorms, especially when nature reacted to it all in real time, as flocks of birds take flight and ground critters scurry to find safety. And not for nothing, but in my dozens of hours in Shadows, I encountered remarkably few bugs for a game this size.
Have I encountered bugs? I've encountered bad AI. Like, there's a lot of bad AI and bad AI design, but, like, that's not a bug. It's just bad. Was Ronin or this game
The 40-hour main story revolves around...
This game totally clears Ronin on graphics. Like, Ronin is like a PS3 game compared to this. Like, absolutely. But I also think that this game is like a PS2 game compared to Ronin's combat.
Masking and eliminating members of a deadly organization called the Shimbaku. Once you've chosen the target, their multi-mission arcs give you regular opportunities to handle the situation with either Yasuke's might or Naoe's stealth. While there are certainly scenarios where one is more useful than the other, in general, there are remarkably few quests where Naoe isn't better suited for the task at hand.
I'm not allowed.
That's not true. The fact is, Yasuke is just the better option in all cases.
I should be quiet.
Yeah, he's just he's better
if
at
the Assassin's
everything.
Creed playstyle is the combination of concepts
The
like
only thing that Naoe is good at is running away and hiding. That's it.
Parkour, stealth, and combat, Naoe can do all of these competently, excelling at parkour and stealth in particular, while Yasuke can't climb very well or sneak around much due to his size and general lack of grace.
Yeah, he doesn't need to.
I meant to do that.
He is a devastating force in combat, but
see
Naoe
that?
can simply sneak around most situations that Yasuke would cut his way through, solving them with so much less trouble. As much as I like Yasuke, he's far more limited and one-dimensional, with large parts of this game not quite designed to take advantage of his strengths. It's particularly disappointing because Shadows does find ways to tailor missions around both of their skills on occasion, usually in bigger, more pivotal, and more important battles where both
maybe
heroes
I should use that.
need to
The polearm?
operate together to succeed. These special missions are separated into sections that allow you to choose which character to proceed with, changing what's asked of you depending on your choice. It's awesome, and made the more homogeneous space between these moments a real bummer.
Yeah, I
Combat
never even played a
overall is
girl.
more challenging and thoughtful than in the past. Enemies, especially in groups, are more aggressive and tend to have solid defenses, both in that they block a lot, and also in that many of them are armored, essentially giving them another life bar. Effectively taking them down means having a solid defense of your own, dodging and deflecting their blows to make them vulnerable, and taking advantage before they recover, though the camera can really struggle to keep all of the action in frame.
Yeah, a little bit. I could say that's
Straightforward
true.
combat encounters really sing when playing as Yasuke, whose suite of weapons are all perfect for decimating enemies. Even outside
How
of
do
his
you-
toys, he's
yeah.
a juggernaut of a man, being able to literally run through walls and shake the earth with his blows.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Naoe is very fragile by comparison, and
Yeah,
while
she
capable
sucks.
of doing lots of damage when enemies are vulnerable, she gets overwhelmed easily by mobs, especially well-armored cruisers.
Like 2 mobs. Look at this.
On the
Pathetic.
flip side, Naoe is a menace when striking from the shadows or catching enemies unaware.
Oh, that was cool. All
There are
right,
some new
to be fair,
features,
that
like
was
being
cool.
able to crawl and dodge while prone, as well as some returning ones like her eagle sense and the long missing double assassination, all of which add up to make Naoe one of the most robust assassins in the series.
Yeah, that's cool. All right.
Enhancing your combat abilities is mercifully less tedious than Valhalla's skill constellation. Naoe and Yasuke have skill trees focused on their weapons and specialities, with every node feeling far more impactful than simple passive damage bonuses.
Well, there
which
are
still
passives,
exist,
but there's not as
in
many.
small amounts. Gaining new abilities is obviously the most impactful, but some of the real hidden gems add new functionality to weapons, like being able to turn certain attacks with Naoe's chain sickle into grapples that let you pull enemies into obstacles or off of cliffs.
Yeah, that is cool.
Speaking of excess, Shadows takes a big step backwards from the work done around your inventory in Valhalla or Mirage. There are far too many pieces of randomized, color-tiered gear to pick up from fallen foes or earn as forgettable quest rewards that had no chance of making it into my rotation.
Yeah, that's probably
Some
true.
might do as last-minute stopgaps to keep your stats in line with the bad guys, but only until you find that next piece of legendary gear or earn enough resources to
You
level
can
up a
upgrade,
piece
yeah.
you already like. The skills in legendary gear, like this armor that has a chance to negate range attacks entirely, are impactful in a way that the generic buffs that you get from the lower tiers of gear never even come close to.
Yeah, the legendary gear is so good. It's insanely good.
Assassin's Creed Shadows takes a flashing blade to the series' established norms, trimming them to a more precise form in lieu of chopping them down outright. Combat is aggressive and requires more intentional parrying and skill management than in the past. And exploring the gorgeous provinces of Sengoku period Japan is encouraged thanks to a revamped map that de-emphasizes collecting icons and checking off lists.
Yeah.
Naoe
There's
and
not as many
Yasuke
of
are
those.
well-realized and memorable protagonists, even though most of the story they drive follows pretty predictable paths. Both have unique playstyles that bolster each other's weaknesses, but they are ultimately imbalanced by the fact that you can make use of the stealth and exploration skills of the Master Shinobi far more than the superhuman strength of the samurai. This isn't the Assassin's
yeah, I
Creed
don't
that
know
will
about
change
that.
the minds of folks who have never connected with the series before. But for those of us with lots of hours logged into the Animus,
See, like, I think that was one of the things that was really good, is that they added in a character for people like me that, like, I like more traditional Dark Souls action combat type games. I'm not really a big fan of stealth games. So I think the idea of adding in your traditional assassin character and also your John Creed, basically he just goes in there and kills everybody, you know, like Dark Souls style, I think that's great. You know, yeah, you want to have an Unga Bunga option as well. Yeah, Warriors Creed, exactly. And so it's good to have both options. Stupid take? Well, no, I don't think so, because, like, you already have, and by the way, if you're going to have one, you should definitely not accommodate me, because I'm not really the target audience for what this game is. But if you want to add in a character to bring in a more mainstream, like, action combat audience, I think the way that they did Shadows is a good way. Does that make sense?
some of Shadow's parts provide a refreshing realignment that you should not skip.
An 8.
For more action, check out our reviews of Monster Hunter Wilds or Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive
So
Edition.
this game was as good as Monster Hunter Wilds, the game, because that was an 8 too.
And for everything else, stick with IGN.
I was actually expecting them to give it a 9, to be honest with you, I was. But yeah, that's at least where I'm at. And what a joke of a quote review. Well, there's the video right there. I mean, paid review? You know, I don't know if it's really a paid review. I just think that it's something that, you know, I don't know if I'd entirely agree with it. Ubisoft deserves an 8. Yeah, this is like, yeah, didn't they also give Wukong an 8 as well? Like, it's very, very weird why they're just giving all these games 8s randomly. Like, I don't get it at all. But yeah, there it is, right?